When a Hollywood legend walks onto a late-night stage, you expect respect. But what happens when the host decides to tear down a legacy for laughs? This is the moment Sylvester Stallone faced more than just questions. He faced a war of words. The night had all the makings of a standard late-night interview. The lights were low, the crowd buzzing, the jazz band wrapping up its intro as Jimmy Kimmel took the stage with his signature grin. "Tonight we have a very special guest," Jimmy said. "The man who made mumbling an art form, Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone." The audience erupted in applause as Stallone appeared, his presence still magnetic despite the years. Dressed in a sharp black blazer over a deep maroon shirt, he waved to the crowd and took his seat beside Jimmy, offering a polite smile. "It's good to be here," Stallone said, voice gravelly as ever. "Good to have you, Sly," Jimmy said, leaning forward. I was told you'd be bringing wisdom, experience, a few unintelligible syllables, and maybe a protein shake." The audience laughed politely. Stallone chuckled, but his eyes narrowed slightly. "Well, I left the protein shake backstage," Stallone replied. "Didn't want to outshine your green juice." Jimmy smirked. "Touché. So let's talk about your new movie, another action flick, or did you finally decide to make something with plot?" Stallone kept his expression neutral. "It's a story about redemption, a veteran confronting the ghosts of his past, something that speaks to real-world pain. Deep," Jimmy said with mock awe, "and here I thought it was just another reason to flex those biceps on screen." The crowd tittered. Stallone didn't laugh. "Sometimes pain needs muscle," he replied evenly, not to show off but to carry the weight. The temperature dropped slightly. Jimmy looked amused. "Wow, that's poetic. Did Rambo teach you that, or was it Rocky?" Stallone leaned back. "Funny, I always thought comedy should punch up, not down." Jimmy raised his eyebrows, surprised by the jab. "Just having fun," he said quickly. "Don't want to get body slammed on live TV." "Don't worry," Stallone said. "I only hit when it's scripted." The tension was building. The studio audience sensed it. What started as banter was shifting into something sharper. Jimmy tried to steer things lighter. "Well, let's go back. The first Rocky film. You wrote it in 3 days, right? Did you just run out of crayons?" A ripple of discomfort ran through the audience. Stallone paused. "I wrote it with everything I had," he said calmly, "while sleeping in a bus terminal trying to sell my dog to eat. So yeah, crayons weren't really the priority." The crowd went quiet. Jimmy looked taken aback. Stallone leaned forward. "You know, Jimmy, sometimes you crack jokes, sometimes you crack dignity. Be careful what you're breaking tonight." The stage was set. The gloves were off. Jimmy leaned back, smiling as if nothing had happened. "You know, Sly, you should do stand up." That comeback was almost intelligible. Stallone didn't flinch. "And you should try sincerity sometime. It might shock your audience." The crowd let out an audible ooh. Jimmy, clearly enjoying himself, pressed further. "Let's be honest, you've made more sequels than Hollywood has original ideas. Ever think of just letting it go?" Stallone crossed his legs slowly. "I keep telling stories people want to hear. Maybe that's the part that bothers you." Jimmy chuckled sarcastically. "Or maybe it's that you keep playing the same guy with a new haircut." Stallone's gaze sharpened. "Better than being a new haircut with the same jokes." The audience roared. Jimmy smiled tightly. "Okay, touché. But seriously, isn't there a part of you that worries people only see you as a punchline?" Stallone leaned in. "Only when hosts like you try to write the jokes. Let me remind you, Rocky wasn't just a film. It was hope for a lot of people who had none." The applause came strong and heartfelt. Jimmy tried to reclaim momentum. "But you're a millionaire now, right? Don't you think it's a bit rich talking about struggle?" Stallone's voice deepened. "Struggle doesn't expire with a paycheck. It leaves scars, and it teaches you to recognize when you're being used for someone else's punchline." Jimmy was silent for a beat. "You think I'm using you?" Stallone didn't blink. "You tell me." The audience held its breath. For the first time, Jimmy looked uncomfortable. Then he forced a laugh. "Well, folks, I didn't realize we booked a philosophy major tonight." Stallone smiled. "Funny, I thought we booked a host." The studio erupted again. Jimmy clenched his jaw. He scrambled for a new angle. "So, how do you respond to critics who say your career is just nostalgia now? That without the past, you're not much in the present?" Stallone's tone turned colder. "Critics talk, legends work, and I don't need to relive the past. I built it." Thunderous applause followed. Jimmy leaned forward one last time. "Come on, Sly, can't you take a joke?" Stallone's smile faded. Can you take the truth? Silence swallowed the room. Jimmy looked at the camera, forcing a grin. We'll be right back after this short break, if Stallone doesn't punch me before then. The commercial break ended, lights snapping back on. Jimmy straightened his jacket. We're back with the one and only Sylvester Stallone, the man, the myth, what is it now, 80-something. Your old action figure. Stallone remained unmoved. Better to be molded in stone than made of plastic, Jimmy. The crowd applauded louder. A shift in the studio, a divide. Your fans are loyal, Jimmy said, pretending not to feel it. Almost aggressively so, like they think you're still that scrappy underdog from Philly. I am, Stallone said simply. I just wear better shoes now. Jimmy scoffed. But come on, Sly. Haven't we moved past the whole underdog thing? Isn't it time to hang up the gloves? Stallone looked him straight in the eye. You ever tell a soldier to hang up his boots because the war makes you uncomfortable? Jimmy blinked. I don't think making a Rocky IX qualifies as war. It does when you're fighting cynicism, apathy, and the belief that people like me can't still inspire. Applause burst again. Jimmy attempted another jab. So what you're saying is it's not ego, it's mission. No, Stallone said. It's responsibility. To remind people you don't stop because the world tells you to. You stop when you decide you're done. Powerful words. Jimmy nodded, then added quickly, spoken like a man trying to sell a box office ticket. Stallone's eyes hardened. You keep trying to turn this into a punchline. Maybe because deep down you're afraid someone might take me seriously. The crowd erupted. Jimmy sat back, rattled. You want to know what scares me, Sly? Jimmy said, feigning calm. It's that people think your on-screen persona is who you are, that Rocky is real. Stallone leaned forward slowly. Rocky is real, not just because I wrote him, but because millions saw themselves in him. He's a mirror, Jimmy, something you clearly avoid looking into. Electric silence. Jimmy leaned back. So Sly, what's next? A line of anti-aging supplements, maybe a reality show. The audience chuckled weakly, hesitation clear. Stallone exhaled slowly. You sit in that chair and poke fun like it's armor, but at some point the jokes stop being clever and start becoming noise. Jimmy shrugged. It's just TV, man. Stallone's voice dropped. Maybe that's the problem. You treat everything like a punchline, even the people who came here with a story worth telling. A hush swept the room. Jimmy chuckled nervously. Don't be so sensitive, Sly. You've taken real punches. Surely you can take a few words. Stallone stood up, calm, deliberate. The audience gasped. I've taken enough, he said, and I've given enough to this industry, to this audience, to the spirit of real storytelling. Jimmy stood too. Hey, where are you going? We're not done. Stallone turned to the crowd. But I am. Silence, then applause out of solidarity. Jimmy tried to laugh it off. Don't worry, folks. Next week, we'll have someone with a sense of humor. Stallone paused at the stage edge. Next week, try having someone with a soul. He walked off. Just before the curtain, he turned back. I've spent a lifetime building characters who fight for something. Maybe it's time Late Night did the same. The camera cut awkwardly to Jimmy, blinking. Backstage, crew clapped and nodded. One intern whispered, "Thank you." Twitter erupted #respect Stallone trending worldwide. Memes flooded. Stallone standing proud. Caption strength isn't loud, it's dignified. The segment replayed endlessly, praised by fans and celebrities alike. Stallone hadn't stormed out in anger. He walked out in dignity. What started as banter became a confrontation exposing egos and values. The world witnessed something real, a legend fighting for respect, not with fists, but with truth.